Fear isolates you. Fear silences you. Fear distracts you from the truth. So again, some time had passed. I had been prescribed the IUD. I had gone to the appointment to have it inserted, and I started to try life with the IUD. I remember trying to change different things about my life, trying to change my diet, trying to increase my water intake, trying to eat more fruits and veggies, just to try and see what would work with my body, if it would help at all. And for some time it got better, and so I stuck with the regimen, increasing the water intake and eating healthy and things like that. One of the side effects with the IUD, my gynecologist told me that I could spot for prolonged periods of time. So the time could be from 3 months to about 6 months. So that did happen with my body. I felt like I was spotting almost every day, in between cycles. But I, again, dealt with it because I felt like this was the way to freedom. I felt like this was the way I was going to feel better. So I just dealt with it and waited for it to just taper off. Really, what I consider to be the turning point of this journey, or the climax, if you will, is a few months after I had the IUD inserted. I came on my cycle, and the day of this climax that happened, I remember I had been on my cycle for 11 days, which was very abnormal for me. I was used to having abnormally long cycles, 7, 8 days, but never 11. That was my first clue that something was wrong, something was off. So it was my 11th day, and I had recently got engaged. So I was on my way to the venue that I was having my wedding for an evening event. As I was on my way, I remember feeling just off, feeling different. I remember still feeling a little trickle of blood. And I wondered, why am I still feeling this? It's been 11 days. It should be tapering off now. I know that I'm supposed to spot, but this just feels different. It feels more like a small flow than just spotting. Then I pulled up to the venue with my friend in the passenger seat, and all was well. I didn't feel any pain. I didn't have any other excruciating symptoms. I was just okay. I parked the car outside of the venue, opened the door, and as soon as I stood up outside of the door, I felt this gush, if you will, of blood leave my body. And I stood there and I was in shock because I felt it go all down my legs, and I just froze. My friend was with me, and so I asked her to give me your sweater, give me your jacket, give me something. I need to cover up with something. And she was confused, but she gave it to me anyway, and she threw it to me, and I remember covering myself and telling her, we need to go inside, we need to go now, something is happening. And she kept asking me, what's wrong, what's happening, what's going on with you? And I said, I'm bleeding, I'm just leaking, I don't know what's happening. And so I run inside the building. I have all these people waiting for me at the event. My mother was there, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my sister, my fiance was there even, and I ran straight past all these people and ran straight to the women's bathroom because something was wrong. But when I went in the bathroom and checked to see what was going on, I felt another surge of blood and blood clots leave my body. I did notice too that even the blood clots that I had had all along with my cycles, they were significantly bigger. They were the size of my fists, and that terrified me because it just wouldn't stop. It would not stop, and I was in a panic. My sister came in, my friend was in there in the restroom with me, and I just kept saying, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. What's wrong? It just won't stop. It just won't stop. And in their efforts to try to get me to calm down, they were just saying, it's gonna be okay. You know, we probably need to call an ambulance. Again, why does everybody keep going straight to that? I don't want to go to an ambulance. I just want to let this pass. I just want to be here and just get this taken care of. As I'm saying that, a third surge of blood comes, and I am just losing it by the pound, feels like. And again, all these blood clots are coming out, and I am just terrified. I start crying, I start bawling, and then eventually someone made the decision that it was time, that I needed to go to an emergency room. So 911 was called. We waited for a while for them to get there, and from what I understand, their question to the person who was on the phone was, is she having a miscarriage? She has to be having a miscarriage. And my friend assured them, no, she is not having a miscarriage, but something is happening. And it seemed like they took a while, you know, to get to me, but they came nonetheless. One of the things I distinctly remember and took note of in the moment was I didn't feel any pain. I looked at how much blood I was losing and what I was losing, and was baffled as to how I didn't feel anything. I was so used to having the sharp stabbing pains. I was so used to being in pain all the time. But I felt nothing. I just felt blood leaving my body, which was terrifying in itself. But I remember taking note of that. Why am I not feeling this? So ambulance came. I got on the gurney. Again, another surge of blood came, and they were just asking me all kinds of questions when they were transporting me to the hospital. Are you having a miscarriage? No, I'm not having a miscarriage. Have you ever had? No, I have not ever had a miscarriage. And they were baffled too. Are you in pain? No, I'm not in pain. So nobody had any answers as to what was going on. Get to the hospital, and same thing. No one knew. No one knew what was going on with my body, why it was responding like this. And as to the IUD, no one could find it. It had disappeared. I guess it had expelled with, you know, the large amounts of blood that I was losing, but no one could find that either. I remember them giving me medicine to stop the hemorrhaging that was happening with my body, but I was terrified. Obviously, that was a tragic moment in my journey, and that was about the time where I decided I need to go back to the doctor, and go back to a different doctor at this point, just to kind of get a differing opinion or, you know, outlook on what was going on in my life. I needed answers. So went to this new gynecologist and told her about the experience that I had at my wedding venue. And she, with her team of doctors, did more tests and checked on me and things like that, and basically suggested surgery. Now, I had so much anxiety about even the thought of surgery because of what the previous doctor had told me what would happen. I told this new doctor, I don't want to have surgery because I want to have children. I am newlywed. I want to have children with my husband. I could bleed out. I could lose so much blood. I'm severely anemic. And I started telling her my story, and she looked at me and she said, why? Why would you have to have a hysterectomy? And I said, well, that's what I was told. She told me that I wouldn't make it through the surgery because of how my body was responding. And she assured me that there was no reason to be afraid of that, that there was no reason to fear that would not happen. And so she started to kind of calm my fears about that. It wasn't until my husband finally sat me down and basically told me, listen, there are no other options here. These fibroid tumors are wreaking havoc over your body, and this is no way to live. You can't have this kind of quality of life. And I shared with him how anxious I was feeling, how fearful I was feeling, and he basically told me that my fears had to take a back seat to what needed to happen, because I had allowed fear to come for my life, and it was time to cut it off at the root. And we decided I needed to have surgery. So went into surgery, and it wasn't until after surgery that I finally found out that I had endometriosis. My surgeon, who was a specialist, came in and said, we found traces of small endometriosis patches on your diaphragm, which is a weird and rare place to have it. And this is why you've been feeling how you've been feeling, with the sharp stabbing pains, with the pains in your right shoulder. And I was so overjoyed. I was so excited just to have some kind of explanation, some kind of diagnosis as to what I was feeling. I knew I was feeling two different kinds of pain. I knew I was not crazy, and he helped me with that. He was a godsend. He also was shocked. He was shocked that not only were there not 2 tumors that he found during surgery, but he found 12. He found 12 of them that were hiding behind each other, kind of growing in clusters, and that had basically taken over my uterus and stretched it to the size of about a, I think, 25-week pregnancy. I was relieved, in a sense, to hear the news that they had gotten all of the newfound tumors that were here, and I was a little bit uneasy at the same time, but I was just glad to have had a diagnosis for what was actually going on with my body. So I remember after having surgery, the very first thing that I asked my doctor and my family was, 1, are my lips dry? Can I have some lip gloss? Because that's important. And 2, did I have my uterus? And they gave me lip gloss, and they also told me that I still have my uterus. So I was also relieved. Talked to me about all the things that he found while he was, doing surgery. He was shocked as to how I was actually functioning in life and able to just walk around, because there were so many organs and things that were out of place, pushed aside on the inside because of the tumors. And he said someone with these kinds of happenings going on inside of them should have been in debilitating pain every day of their lives. I'm not sure how you were even walking around. And my response to him was, because I serve a sustaining God. That is what I told him. That news from my surgeon telling me that I should have been in this much pain, I should have been dealing with this, I should have been debilitated, it increased my faith and took it to a whole nother level where I no longer went back to relying and trusting on fear and the comfortable state of fear. But I started to trust that God had protected me, that He had sustained me. I started to trust that God had kept me because there was a purpose that He had for my life. And I remember that feeling of peace that I felt at the very first emergency room visit. And I made up in my mind that I had to choose over and over to get to this place and to stay in this place of peace that God had offered me. So my language changed, my disposition changed, my countenance changed. I went from being fearful and thinking of all the what ifs to this is what God has done for me. He has sustained me. He has kept me. He has shown himself faithful to me. And that is what I chose to rely on from that day forward. I saw God differently in this whole experience. I saw him not only as just a man that I talked about or that I learned about growing up, but I saw him as coming through on his promise, coming through on his faithfulness, coming through on his word. He said that he would never leave me or forsake me. He said that he would be my sustainer, and he was just that. So God became real to me in so many ways than one. He became real and not just something that was talked about or something that my family believed in. He made himself known to me. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching this video series. I hope that it has shed some light on the condition of endometriosis, but not only that it has encouraged and brought some kind of hope to women or people who are dealing with this condition. We are stronger than we think. We are endo warriors. And I encourage everyone to always, again, go get a second opinion. Take care of yourself. Take care of your body. And if faith is incorporated in your life, I encourage you to get to know God. Get to know God and who he is and who he can be in your life.